Hello everyone, and welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Every whisper, every glance, every hidden feeling is right here. Before we dive in, make sure you stick around to the end. This one has the tenderness, the sparks, and the quiet truths that have set timelines ablaze. This week, it was Elçin Sangu who stirred the waters of social media with a post that felt less like a performance and more like a heartbeat. With one candid family photo, just her, Barış Arduç, and their little one. She reminded millions why a single frame can say more than 1,000 rehearsed lines. The image wasn't showy. No red carpet gowns, no dramatic angles, no big declarations. Just a soft light, a subtle smile on Elçin's face, Barış's steady, protective posture, and a child's gentle, unguarded joy in the middle of it all. It took only minutes for the likes to climb, for hearts to stack up like confetti, and for the comments to turn into a chorus. True joy, some wrote. A real family, others sighed. Peace you can feel, murmured many more. It would have been enough simply as a picture that breathes, but what sent the post into the center of the day's gossip conversation was the comments sitting right beneath it. It wasn't from a publicist or a brand, not a cryptic tagline, not a slogan. It was from Barış himself, short, warm, and unmistakably intimate. That single line, so clear and so careful, caught fire across fan pages and celebrity forums. No theatrics, no extra polish. Just the kind of note that says, I'm here, I'm proud, and this is ours. What people found themselves talking about wasn't only the sweetness of the message, but what it revealed about the two of them. The exchange felt like a window left cracked open on a breezy day. You don't see the whole house, but you sense the life inside. Fans and columnists alike were quick to remark that the tone echoed the way both stars have navigated the industry in recent years. More intentional choices, fewer needless appearances, and a preference for real moments over staged grandiosity. The post, and the ripple that followed, existed in that same register, unspectacular in the most spectacular way. This isn't the first time Elçin has chosen quiet over noise. Lately, she seemed most herself when she shares life as it really unfolds. A morning light over a table, a hand on a shoulder, a laugh that doesn't need a caption. The photo reinforced the sense that she's stepped into a gentler season, one that fans have embraced with surprising fervor. They pointed to the softness across her face and the calm in her eyes and called it what they believed it to be, happiness that doesn't ask for attention, only presence. Many said she seemed even stronger since turning toward home more often, as if strength and serenity aren't opposites but companions. And then there was Barış in that same frame. Attentive, grounded, unmistakably proud. His presence has always carried a straightforward warmth, but the way he seemed to lean toward the little one, the way his arm created a space of safety, became a talking point of its own. Fatherhood suits him beautifully, wrote one user. The comment was repeated in dozens of versions, sometimes dressed in poetry, sometimes delivered simply. Whatever the phrasing, the sentiment was the same: his love is visible in the small ways. The photo isn't a change of direction so much as a confirmation. Both have long preferred letting their work do the yelling and their personal lives speak softly. The single post, with its absence of flash, became a kind of statement without trying to be, a reminder that intimacy can exist on a public page without becoming spectacle. The reaction from the community proved it. Words like genuine, unfiltered, and warm floated repeatedly through the replies. Even the applause from other familiar names, silent likes, discreet hearts, felt like a nod across the room rather than a shout. What amplified it all, though, was how far that one line from Barış traveled. Fans dissected it across platforms, quoting it with affectionate edits, pairing it with scenes from their past work, weaving together the on-screen chemistry that first introduced them to many and the off-screen quietness that now holds them. The message, while short, became a touchstone. Proof, some said, that connection doesn't need many words. Others went further, calling it a tiny manifesto about tenderness in a culture that often confuses volume with value. Some observers linked the moment to how carefully Elçin has chosen projects lately. When she's accepted roles, the scripts have felt thoughtful, measured, with room for nuance rather than noise. Today, the family post seemed like the personal counterpart to that professional selectivity. No long caption, no list of hashtags, no behind-the-scenes explanation of how this all came to be, just a glimpse that trusted people would understand what they saw and feel what they felt. By midday, the image had become the centerpiece of gossip chats, not because it revealed some secret or stirred a scandal, but because it felt like a quiet antidote to all that. The comments kept arriving: real joy, a loving home, a hush that says everything. Some fans even wrote that the picture felt like a memory they'd been waiting to have, like a season they hoped their favorites would inhabit and savor. The effect was intimate, almost private, and yet shared by thousands who never stepped inside that frame. What followed was the familiar rhythm of the celebrity day. Screenshots of the comments circulated. Fans responded to fans. Journalists remarked on the lack of performance. Analysts noted that a single authentic post can outshine a week of press. And yes, of course, the speculators arrived too, the ones who try to read a strategy into everything. But for once, the speculation didn't land. It felt out of place next to that calm picture, the child's bright expression, the echo of Barış's words lingering like the last line of a gentle song. By evening, the post had settled into its own kind of calm. It was still trending, still being shared, still gathering hearts, and yet it was as if the noise of the day had swirled around it and moved on. The photo remained exactly what it had been at the start, a small scene of ordinary love, a clip of life without costume, a frame that invited people to breathe. The industry chatter shifted toward themes easily lost in show business: family, trust, the grace of not saying more than you need to say. People pointed out that, even in a field so often mislabeled as competitive to the bone, affection and respect can flow in both directions, quietly and steadily. Behind the scenes, columnists started writing pieces about what the photo suggested. They reflected on how Elçin's poise, tasteful, reserved, never forced, has deepened. They considered how the glimpses she shares have grown rarer and thus more precious. When she offers a moment, it lands with weight because she doesn't flood the feed with 100 variations. That scarcity makes each image feel like a pressed flower between the pages of a favorite book. Meanwhile, the calm pride on Barış's face reminded many of what they liked about him from the beginning, a dependability that doesn't need a microphone to be heard. Of course, the back channels couldn't resist bringing up old rumors. Those murky waves that return whenever a couple stands in the light. But the photograph itself felt like a reply without a press release. Rather than arguing or performing certainty, they let a picture carry the message. The fact that they didn't immediately post a follow-up, explain themselves, or tease a reveal said as much as any interview could. Sometimes stillness is the point. More celebrities tapped the heart throughout the day, adding weight with their names while resisting the urge to hijack the moment. A few wrote a single word. Others left a simple symbol. The sum of it formed a quiet chain of support, a reminder that the people so often cast as rivals can also be neighbors with open doors. In an ecosystem that thrives on comparison, gestures of affirmation stand out like candlelight. Late that night, a few fan accounts revisited the couple's earlier work, juxtaposing past scenes with the new photograph. They built small stories out of it, memories of fictional lovers and reflections on the real people who breathed life into those roles. They weren't claiming to know the private timeline. They weren't making demands for more access. Instead, they were acknowledging something rare. The way a screen romance can seed a soft ache that later finds a home in something steadier and truer than fiction. Whether or not that was the narrative the couple intended, it was the one audiences saw, and it made them feel close in the best possible way. By morning, the story had become less about views and more about mood. That's the secret, isn't it? A single post can tilt a day, setting a tone people want to match. If they were louder personalities, perhaps the result would have been different. But because both Elçin and Barış have learned how to let silence do part of the talking, their message landed softly and stayed. There were no follow-ups, no attempts to squeeze more from the moment. They simply allowed it to live as itself. As the hours passed, interest didn't collapse, it settled. Fans continued to send love, and even those who usually remain on the periphery found themselves confessing that the image left them warmed. Some called it proof that real life can outshine anything staged. Others drew attention to the child's unguarded grin, calling it the only caption the picture needed. And a small handful, perhaps the most perceptive of all, noticed how clearly the photo displayed the couple's equilibrium. Her gentleness, his quiet strength, and the way they met in the middle without needing to signpost it. You could feel the editorial machine shifting, too. The story wasn't about scandal or rivalry this time. It was about the way a couple carries itself without shouting. About the privacy you can keep even when you're widely seen. About how a bond that respects its own boundaries becomes strangely visible, not because it performs intimacy, but because it radiates steadiness. That's what people were responding to, whether they knew it or not. And so, without fanfare, a simple photograph from Elçin Sangu answered with a tender line from Barış Arduç turned into the day's touchstone. The meaning wasn't complicated, a family moment shared on purpose, and offered breath of calm in a landscape that often forgets how to pause. If there's a lesson in it, it might be this: sometimes the most powerful kind of publicity is the kind that doesn't try to be publicity at all. As of now, neither has added another post. They haven't needed to. The picture continues to travel, collecting sentiments that echo the first flood: real happiness, a loving family, a peace that lingers. The industry will move on, as it always does, but this frame will keep circulating as a quiet counterpoint to the louder headlines. Where some images demand attention, this one invites a moment of stillness. Where some captions compete to be clever, this one's soft reply has done enough. That's the heart of it, and that's why the conversation hasn't ended. People aren't only talking about what they saw, they're talking about what they felt. And in a world built on appearances, feeling is rare currency. It's what makes a fleeting scroll turn into a saved post. It's what makes a timeline pause. It's what makes a whisper sound, somehow, like music. You're watching Whispers of Turkish Stars, where we follow not just who said what, but how it made everyone feel. If this moment touched you too, you're not alone. Until the next whisper, keep your eyes open for the stories that don't need to shout.